Friend Ann Newton-Kane, who is with Sotheby's in the Bay Area. She is a luxury real estate specialist, and we're going to dive into her entire story, talking about the marketplace, what's happening right now, and why you need someone like her on your dream team to help you exit highly appreciated residential real estate. Ann Newton-Kane, how you doing?
I'm good, Brett. How are you?
I'm better than I deserve. I'm excited to be here for our listeners getting to know you for the first time. Would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, let me tell you, I was born and raised in a small town up on the Oregon border, Wairika. Actually, it's where the fires are happening right now. Went to school at UC Davis. Went to work right after I graduated for a company called MCI. You're too young probably to know it. I was #1 sales rep within the first 6 months in the United States, and my career started gangbusters at that time. I stayed with MCI for about 18 years, and then I was hired away by the CEO of Quest Communications out of Denver. I ran the West Coast for that, for their large sales organization, and then I started in real estate after I took a break to raise my kids.
Fantastic. And I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I want you to go back to your Wairika days,
Yep.
and I want you to think about that. What do you feel like the 1, 2 gifts or strengths that you believe you've been given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
That's so funny that you asked that, because I think about it a lot. And the reason that I've been so successful is because I was raised in a tiny town, 5,000 people, and I knew how to work with the most wealthy people and the people that were at the bottom. 10% of my high school went on to college. That's a very low percentage. I also learned the work ethic too by being raised on a cattle ranch. So I learned that it takes a lot of work to be successful.
Excellent, excellent. Hard work, work ethic, and being able to work with people from all shapes, sizes, and economic classes. Love it. That's a great gift and a great segue to our topic today, which is the top secret to selling luxury real estate, especially in the marketplace like this. Like, what's been your #1 secret to selling luxury real estate in the Bay Area?
Basically knowing your client and what they're looking for, and not trying to sell them something, but finding out exactly what they want and need. And maybe it's not always what you need, but what you can have.
Absolutely.
And there's a huge difference there.
So talk about that nuance there, and what's the 1 or 2 questions that help you to pull that out so that the client can understand that?
Well, I was actually just sold a client an $8.8 million house last week. And he looked at me and said, right before he bought the house, my wife and I, there's only 2 of us. Our kids are all gone. We don't need this. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, you know what? Need is not the answer here. You've worked hard and you can have it.
That's beautiful. So knowing the nuance and helping people, it's almost like a psychologist sometimes, right? And giving them the permission to be rewarded for what they've worked hard for. Is that a fair summary so far?
That's exactly what I was trying to tell him.
So when you first meet with the client for the first time, what are the top questions you found to ask to really get to know them and understand what their needs and wants are?
I always start out by, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me, and this is a key one which you started with, where were you raised? Because then you know exactly what they're going to look for. Mm-hmm. And people buy luxury homes off of where they were raised, which is really wild. I know that sounds crazy, but I just sold a $6 million home that was absolutely beautiful to this young couple with a baby. And the woman walked in and she said, oh my God, this looks just like where I was raised. The house looks the same. It has the beautiful yard in front. I knew she was going to buy that house. Her husband didn't know he was going to buy that house, but I knew they were.
That's fantastic. So connecting, the dots, or connecting the past to the future or the present, and helping them to see that. That's where they were raised. That's fascinating. So like if you're raised like maybe on a more of a farm or a rural area versus the city versus different parts of the U.S., like what are some of those nuances that you're always trying to pull out?
That's exactly, I'm trying to figure out what they enjoyed about their lifestyle as a child. Mm. And usually they're going to go back to that, whether it is a ranch or whether it an apartment building in New York City. They're going to end up going back to that same type of lifestyle if they can afford it.
So maybe that's the question. What did you most enjoy about where you grew up and the environment that you grew up in? and maybe connecting that nuance to this house that you're selling. Is that a fair thought or summary on that?
It's extremely, yeah, you picked up on it right off the bat.
Okay, excellent. So
Very
that's kind of the first secret. Okay. So now talk about the execution of this. So now you got to go to bat for your clients, and you've got to be able to negotiate, and either on the buy side or even the sell side. So what are some of the top ways that you've learned to negotiate for your clients?
Well, I'm really a listing agent more so than a buying agent, and I don't know how that happened, but it just did. And so I'm always trying to negotiate and figure out when someone walks in the house to look at my listing, what they're looking for, and trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to satisfy their needs, what they want with my listing.
Absolutely. Now talk about that. So when there's 10 amazing things about the listing, are you picking those one or two that are going to be most applicable to that buyer, or are you giving them all 10?
I'm trying to give them all 10 and then focus in on what's important to them. But I really want to show them all of them because you never know what they're going to pick up on. You can usually figure that out pretty quick.
How do you know when you've picked up on the one that really connects? I mean, you mentioned that one with the gal who said, "Oh, I mean, she literally laid it out for you. This is like my house I grew up." I mean, you're looking for that emotional connection, or what is it that you're looking for to figure that out?
The person will usually start asking a lot of questions on something they're interested in. If they don't ask a question, that's probably not hitting their button.
I see.
But once they start asking a question, then okay, they're interested.
Sure.
The more questions you get, the hotter the topic.
What's the one thing that you've learned along the years to make sure that you don't either make that mistake, or you prepare your client for to manage and help to set expectations? Because you're selling, $5, $10, $15 million houses. These are big deals, big opportunities, and high stakes environments. So what are the things that you're helping to prepare and help manage those expectations?
This might sound crazy, but I always try to bring the negative up and make sure that the person on the other side understands all of the negatives about the home, and then talk about the positives. Because if you tell them something negative, they're usually okay with it before you sell the house, but they're really upset after you sell the house. So I want to get that all out on the table, make sure they completely know everything about it. And then it usually turns into a pretty positive solution.
I think there's so much wisdom there, right? Where if you can also help you to qualify the buyer, right? And that, this is not for you if it's 1, 2, and 3. Like, these are the worst things. And if they could say, okay, well, I'm okay with that. Those aren't really that negative to me. Okay, then let's go move forward. Because I imagine you have a lot of people that are trying to either talk to you or make offers or go through, and you've got to really focus on, growing the business and looking at the highest and best opportunity for your clients. So talk to us about that nuance there. What are some of the top negative things that you're making sure to bring out on each deal?
You know what? It's always different on every property. You can never say that it's the same. Let me give you an example. If the property, I don't know, had a leak at some point, I will tell them about that leak and where it was and what happened and how it was fixed. I don't want them to be surprised afterwards when they read the disclosures and they're like, well, why didn't you tell me about that? So I can't really specifically say that there's anything, because every property is totally different. Every transaction is completely different, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side. I haven't had one the same yet.
Makes sense. So disclosure and making sure you're setting those expectations
Exactly.
properly. So what would you say, besides relationships, right, and listening really well and picking up on these nuances, what has helped you to become a listing agent, A, and then B, sell at these higher luxury prices?
Good question. My mentor, when I first got into it, his name is Michael Dreyfus, and he's one of the top real estate agents in the United States. And he told me, you always want to be on the listing side. He said it's just key, because then you're going to get the buyers when they come in the door. So I really focused on going out and finding those people, trying to pitch myself. I know how to do proposals that are amazing because I was in corporate America, which most real estate agents don't know how to do a proposal. And I sit down with the client and I walk through the entire selling cycle. What happens, how much money, I go through everything that they're gonna have to do. And I don't think most agents really know how to do that. So I have a very high success rate. If I get to pitch myself, I have an extremely high success rate of being picked as a listing agent.
I think that's great, and I likewise had amazing mentors that taught the value of value representation and the value of the proposal. And the proposal is showing them how you're going to help them solve their problem, right? And going through that in detail. I know in every single sales comp, every single nuance, every single thing that's changed or changing or could change, and showing the proposals a way to solve that, and you're prepared for that. So I think that's really good, insightful wisdom there. Let's shift a little bit into capital gains tax. Part of the challenge with some owners who are selling and they've lived there for 10, 20, 30 years in Palo Alto or Atherton or Menlo Park or these places that are highly appreciated, they have a big tax, right? So what's been the biggest frustration you found for homeowners or real estate owners that have capital gains tax?
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and we're taught real estate agents are not supposed to answer that question legally in the state of California. So that's a big one that I always need someone, which you fit into it perfectly, to call up and have my client, because my client wants answers from me and I can't legally give them. So it's very good to partner with someone that you can bring them to and say, what can I do? Because that's probably the biggest barrier of getting people to sell their house, is they don't want to pay the capital gains. And most of these people that I'm working with have owned the house for many, many years and have seen huge appreciation in I handle the Loma Linda area. So they need to know what they can do to avoid that, or why sell your house if you're going to pay the government 50%.
Exactly. It's such a huge amount of wealth that's going to be, either paid to the government, or if you can defer it and live off the interest and cash flow and be able to pass it to kids, it's so important. And it's so important for people to know the options, right? We just helped a client out of Palo Alto who had an $8.3 million primary home, and their basis was about $6 million, and their kids were all gone, and they're ready to move out and downsize. It's a beautiful house right on University Avenue, but their biggest challenge was they didn't qualify for a 1031 exchange, and so we provided the Deferred Sales Trust as that option, and they were able to exit. The realtor was able to get paid, the escrow was able to get paid, and the buyer was able to buy what they wanted to buy. And so at the end of the day, I always say we're in the business of solving problems, and we're not in the business of really even selling real estate or selling tax deferral or whatever else we're doing. We're actually in the business of just solving problems. So how has problem solving come into play for you and your clients, and even growing up? Would you consider yourself a problem solver?
I solve problems every day. In fact, I just told you I have to leave here tonight at 7 p.m. because I just got a call that one of my listings has a leak. So I'm meeting a plumber at 7 p.m. tonight in Piedmont. So I'm always solving problems.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about before just being on video, right? We're recording now, and I said we would tie this into our talk here, right? And you had a video camera person follow you around, and you talk about that experience and your hesitancy and kind of the outcome after you went through it with it.
So I was selling actually a home of a very prominent person in Lafayette, and I hired this social media company to come follow me around and have me show the house, because it was during COVID and you couldn't have people in. It's very difficult to have showings. So they followed me around. I'll just tell you right off the bat, I didn't like it, but I put it on social media and social media loved it. So it works, whether I like it or not.
Absolutely. And sometimes, I know for myself, getting on camera, if you can relate, it feels awkward, it feels weird, and it feels like, it's almost like, you're inviting the world to see you. But, I know it helped me to say, if I'm going to serve more people and help more people, right? If I can put myself out of that for a minute and then allow more people to see that, I can make a bigger impact. So I have a saying, and I'm curious what you think about it. It's called the success of fulfillment formula. And I don't know that's really my saying. I think I may have kind of put it together or heard it from somebody, but it's essentially like your gift or strength that you've been given, times maximizing the potential of that gift, times trying to impact as many people as you can with that, with the overall theme that you're created for a higher purpose. That actually equals fulfillment or success. And you can apply that to your family. You can apply it to your business. You can serve your clients. And it's, identifying that strength, maximizing that, potential of that, and then really making impact for people. And so video is that chance to multiply, right? We're going to be recording, and there might be, 20, 30 people here tonight for the main event. But now this is on social media. This is on YouTube if you're watching. And now we can make an impact for more people and inspire more people. So what do you think about that, Ann? Does that inspire you to get on camera more?
I need to be. I'm listening to you and I'm very impressed. So yes, it does.
Excellent. Let's move into the lightning round. So if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
At 25 or now?
If you could go back now, or if you can go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one thing you'd tell yourself to do?
That's a tough question. I guess get on video more.
Video on the,
We
yeah.
didn't have video at that point.
Yeah. Question number 2, book. Think about a book. What's the number one book you've gifted or recommended the most in the past year? Or all time?
Actually, pictures of the La Miranda area. I've been giving those to my clients and trying to encourage them to shop the La Miranda area for beautiful homes.
Excellent. Question number 3, what are you most curious about right now?
What the economy is going to do. It's very scary.
What's your take on?
I'll tell you, it's really interesting because people ask me constantly, well, the housing market's changed because of the interest rates. Not really with the houses that I'm selling, because most of people don't get a loan on the houses I'm selling. Really, it's changed because people are a little bit scared. They don't know what the stock market's going to do, what the economy is going to do, what's going to happen with Russia. All those things really play into the people that I'm talking to, because most of my clients can all buy in cash.
Right. It's the uncertainty and the unknown, and it's not having that certainty of conviction, of stability. And I could see how that could definitely affect that. Do you feel like that's adjusting prices downward a bit, or what?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Also, things are staying on the market longer. It's wild because you could have this perfect house that you think is wonderful and put it on, and you don't know whether it's going to be the hot home or it's not going to be. If it's the hot home, you're still going to get a few offers. You're not going to get 10 offers, but you're going to probably get 2 to 3. Or it might just sit there for absolutely no reason. You have no idea why people aren't coming to see it. It's just like throwing dice out.
Fascinating. It's such a moving target, it feels like, right? And a lot of change is going on. Second to last question, what's the number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Ethics. Because I see a lot of bad things in this market. The real estate market's really wild. I am here, I want to change the way people do real estate, and I think it's by ethics. Excellent.
Last question, Ann. After all your success helping all the people you've helped, what's the number one habit you try to practice that helps you to stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Basically making sure that I always tell the truth. And if a client can be in love with the property, and if I know something that I just don't feel comfortable with it, I will be honest with them and tell them, no matter what. And that's taking money out of my pocket, but I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And hey, it's been more than a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more today. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you give them a little bit more, remind them one last time, what's the best place for them to find you? AnnNewtonCain.com. And I work out of the Lafayette office for Golden Gate Sotheby's in Lafayette, California. Amazing. Thank you so much, Ann, for being on the show or watching it on YouTube. And for our listeners who want to get in touch with me, perhaps learning about the Deferred Sales Trust, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this with someone who can inspire today. And we'll talk to you.